Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show, we'll preview the Peach Bowl, Georgia versus Ohio State, and preview the Falcons game versus Arizona. It's up next, Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Hittin Hard is brought to you by BetOnline. We ask you to head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you get there, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We are free and available to download on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. When you get there, hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on the action. And then we are on Roku and Amazon Fire. Yes, we are on those platforms as well. And then follow me at JMCH316 on my personal Twitter page. Well, it all goes down New Year's Eve, Peach Bowl, University of Georgia versus Ohio State University. You know, when the season started, this was sort of a dream or fantasy kind of matchup because Ohio State had all of the best personnel on offense. They have a great offensive line, the best wide receiver room in the country. We didn't know at the time, but arguably the best running back duo in America, and obviously an outstanding quarterback. And all that offensive personnel going up against Georgia's defense, which obviously was, picked to be the top defense in the country or one of the top defenses in the country. So before the season started, it was, hey, what if we could see Ohio State's offense versus this Georgia defense? Well, we're going to get it in the Peach Bowl. So Georgia, from the Georgia perspective, it's remarkable what Kirby Smart has done in back-to-back years. They're the number one rush defense in America. They're the number two scoring defense. And they literally gave up less than 3 points a game more than last year. Now, I figured that they would give up about a touchdown a game, but they gave up less than 3 points, 12.77 points per game. And it speaks to the recruiting, the defensive philosophy. I mean, again, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and Keely Ringo, those are all first-round talents in the NFL. Now, a couple of other things here to look at. You know that Stetson Bennett had more passing yards and rushing yards than C.J. Stroud. Let me repeat that. Stetson Bennett had more passing yards and rushing yards than C.J. Stroud. So this is not 3 yards in a cloud of dust. This is the most balanced team in America in the University of Georgia. Offense and defense out there. Georgia averages 284.9 yards passing per game. Ohio State averages 294.2 passing yards per game. Georgia's the number 25, the Ohio State Buckeyes are the number 25 rushing defense in the country. That's a key stat because as much as Georgia wants to throw, and I think that, and we'll talk about this in just a second here, but Georgia's identity is still to run the football, still to lean on that offensive line and run the football. And while Ohio State doesn't give up a ton of yards on the running game, it's going to be a key to how successful Georgia is at running the football. Now, I think Georgia is going to take some shots with Brock Bowers down the middle of the field and down the seam. I really think that they're going to work the safeties and linebackers, which is definitely an Ohio State weakness. Their linebacking core has been okay, but it's not the traditional linebacker core for Ohio State. They've had some trouble in pass coverage. I look for Georgia to attack the middle of the field and attack some seams down the middle. Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, I look for them more than just attacking the outside of the field, because their corners have played pretty well. Ohio State's corners have played pretty well. But I look for them to get their tight ends involved down in the middle of the field. Maybe some play action, but get them involved downfield. I think that this is a game where Brock Bowers has a national championship and say hello to the world. He has a top, probably 5 or 10 draft pick next year in the draft. And again, he's the best tight end in America. So it's not a real stretch to say that Brock Bowers is going to play well. But I really think that this is a coming out party in a lot of ways against a big time program. Certainly in the SEC championship game last year, that was a big time performance against Alabama. But I think that on this national stage, even more ramped up, I think Brock Bowers is the man out there. I think the under is the play in this game. I think it's 62.5, somewhere around there, 62, 63 points. I think the under is the play in this game. I don't think that Ohio State is going to score a crap ton of points. And I think Georgia's going to score a moderate amount of points. Georgia isn't going to win a shootout. They're not going to win a 50-45 type of game. And again, you saw LSU have some success in the passing game. We'll talk about that in just a second here. But I don't think that Georgia's equipped to get into a dial a score type of game. So I expect the over to be the play. Now, I do think that Georgia covers the game. I do think that the 6.5 point margin, I think they win this game comfortably. I think they win this game by 10 to 14 points. I really do. I just don't, I don't, as much as Ohio State, and look, the number one key in this game is Ryan Day's play calling. If he calls a game like Northwestern or Michigan or Penn State, Ohio State will be in trouble, where he gets stuck in the mud with his play calling, especially against, Northwestern, Penn State. It was baffling, to see the play calling. But Ohio State overwhelms you with their personnel. That's why they won so many games. They couldn't overwhelm Michigan, but they overwhelmed Notre Dame, Northwestern, Penn State. They just overwhelm you with their talent. But when you line up and by the way, Ohio State does definitely struggle against good defensive fronts. And I think Jalen Carter is going to have a big time game. But Ohio State struggles with some defense, with big physical defensive fronts. And, you saw it against Michigan. I really think that Ryan Day is the key to this game. If he calls a good game, if he calls a game like Iowa, or if he calls a game like Toledo, they're going to have some success. And they're going to probably air it out. Igbuka, Marvin Harrison, Cade Stover, Fleming, those guys, they're going to take their shots. The key matchup is certainly Kelee Ringo versus Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison, I think, should have been the Biletnikoff winner, but Marvin Harrison is an outstanding wide receiver. Kelee Ringo is a first-round NFL talent. That's a very intriguing matchup. But I think the key is Ryan Day's play calling against that Georgia defensive front. I expect it to be the under. The under is the play, and the point, and Georgia take Georgia and the points. I think they win pretty comfortably. I want to talk about my friends over at BetOnline. Listen, betonline.net is your number one source for all of your sports wagering information. Look, it's very simple. You take the mobile device, right? And it's very easy. Take the mobile device, plug in betonline.net. And when you get there, search out all of the information to make you a smarter sports bettor. Podcast news, stats, scores, all kinds of information to make you a smarter sports bettor. Then get in on the action. College basketball, NBA basketball, NHL, college bowl games, right? We're coming to the last few college bowl games, right? Get in on all of the action on betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your sports wagering information. But get in on the action. Whatever your proclivities are, you can get in on it over at betonline.net. And we thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. We want to make Locked On Sports Today your second listen every day. The biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. They're available on Odyssey, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from. So the Falcons take on the Arizona Cardinals this weekend. First of two games at home to end the regular season. Desmond Ridder versus Colt McCoy. Who could have called that matchup? Look, this could be a game where the Falcons could very much pick up or very much how do I want to say, very much exploit the lack of pass defense for the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals give up the highest completion percentage in the NFL. They're dead last in completion percentage allowed. They give up the seventh most passing yards in the NFL. They give up the third most touchdown passes in the NFL. So if there's an area to exploit, and, obviously we are a very run-heavy, run-first type of offense, but teams have had real success throwing the football against Arizona. I think J.J. Watt is going to have – I think J.J. Watt is, for these next couple of weeks, is going to have a real impact. I just feel like he's going to go out with a bang. So defensively for the Cardinals, they're probably going to try to get after the quarterback. J.J. Watt, for a team that has 31 sacks on the season, J.J. Watt's got 9.5 sacks. I think he's going to go out with a bang. I really do. I think that he is going to really try to disrupt the game. So you have to account for him. And you really have to, he's the number one pass rusher on this defense. But I do think that the Falcons can exploit the lack of pass defense from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they will still be run first, run heavy in this game. But if there was an opportunity for Desmond Ridder to throw it around a little bit, I do think it's in this game. I do think that they can pick up some yards and points. And certainly we've got to score, more than 9 points in this game out there. Colt McCoy. So of the three quarterbacks that the Arizona Cardinals have played, he's the most prone to taking sacks. So I expect their defense, he's about 9% sack percentage. So I expect their defense to get a sack or two. Maybe Grady, maybe Ebiketie, but I expect the Falcons' defensive line to sack the quarterback at least once or twice in this game. The Arizona Cardinals are a middle of the road offense. They certainly, without Kyler Murray, they don't have that dynamic element at quarterback and the ability to run the football. Colt McCoy is obviously, if he has to run, he can, but certainly he's not going to take off and hurt you with his legs out there. So, and another matchup to look at, Isaiah Simmons is a real defensive stud. The kid out of Clemson, he's a player that plays all over the field. He's a safety, he's a linebacker, he moves up in the box. He's really all over the place defensively out there. But again, the Falcons can pick up and exploit yards in the passing game. So I like this game. I like the Falcons to win this game. I like the Falcons to pick up that sixth win on the season. I think that they're going to be able to throw the football around. I think that they're going to have some success with Drake London and even some of their other wide receivers. I would like to see more of the screen game that we saw just blips and bloops of last week. But throwing it to Avery Williams, throwing it to Cordero Patterson in the screen game. I think that the Falcons can pick up big chunks of yards, and I look for a couple of big plays in the passing game, unlike the defenses that we've lined up against in the first couple of weeks of the season. Well, I want to thank you so much for making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen every day. Make Locked On Sports Today your second listen every day. Big game reactions, instant reactions, big game recaps, takes of the day. It's all available on Odyssey, YouTube, wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. We ask you to head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you get there, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We're free and available to download on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Leave us a 5-star review there. Roku and Amazon Fire, you can check us out there on those platforms as well. And then follow me at JMCH316 on our personal Twitter page. It's been Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.